Coming up in NewsTeam Boulder, a brand new public health order from the city of Boulder. How can you avoid some hefty fines? A car hit protesters in Denver last night. We tell you what happened. And CU students remember Ruth Bader Ginsburg.
From the Roser Atlas Center and the College of Media, Communication, and Information, this is NewsTeam Boulder.
Thank you for joining us here in NewsTeam Boulder. I'm Anayeli Villalobos. We begin today with breaking news. This morning, Boulder County issued a new public health order. It applies to residents between age 18 and 22. The order comes after the governor's office declared CU Boulder to have the largest coronavirus outbreak in the state. NewsTeam Christina Robin is on the hill with more on the more of the public health order.
When you're 18, you can buy lottery tickets. When you're 22, you can sing Taylor Swift. But until you're 23, it's illegal for you to gather with friends. The Boulder County Public Health Order singles out college students, including 36 off-campus locations, prohibiting them from having any gatherings, just like this one right here. CU Boulder's COVID-19 outbreak infected more than 1,200, making it the largest infestation in Colorado. Coronavirus is responsible for the hospitalization of just over 200 people in Boulder County.
We also know that there's a much lower hospitalization rate of the 18 and 25-year-olds, likely in the 1% to 2% range. Although, as I said to some student leaders the other day, and obviously a lot of this is about peer behavior and modeling, and it's important that the students themselves reach out to one another and act responsibly.
Chancellor Philip DeStefano presented 3 options for students. 1, continue following public health orders and stay in Boulder. 2, go home. Or 3, don't follow the rules and potentially risk criminal charges or suspension.
As Christina mentioned, there are some stiff penalties for people who don't follow the public health orders. The Boulder County Attorney's Office says anyone who violates the order could be fined up to $5,000 and jail time for up to 18 months. On top of that, CU is threatening probation or even suspension for students who violate the order. This week, we get our first look at the number of the students in violation who were referred to students' conduct. With 43 students on probation and 14 temporarily suspended, with so many students are Boulder exposed to the coronavirus, even more are having to live in isolation. NewsTeam Chloe Henson hasn't been allowed to leave her house for the past 2 weeks, and she has some advice for us.
If you find yourself in the position where you must self-quarantine as a student, it can be confusing and overwhelming. If you live with someone who contracts the coronavirus, there are many ways you can keep yourself safe and support your roommate at the same time. I've personally dealt with this situation for the past couple weeks. If you find yourself in this situation, the first step is to get yourself tested. Wardenburg Health Center and the pop-up clinic on Pleasant Street on the Hill are 2 of the closest testing centers to the CU campus. You will get your results back within 24 hours, and there is no need to panic if you test negative and live with someone who is a carrier of the coronavirus. Isolation is the next step. Make sure that you and your roommate wear masks when in the common areas, if it's impossible to fully isolate from each other altogether. Asking the person with COVID-19 to wear gloves in the bathroom and other shared areas is recommended as well. As long as you make sure you clean surfaces with disinfectant, use Lysol, and try to isolate as much as possible, you will keep yourself from being infected.
People who are sick and their roommates should eat in their own rooms if possible. Do not share dishes, glasses, or utensils with someone who's sick, and don't forget to wear masks in the common areas. Stay healthy out there, social distance, and don't forget to tune in to NewsTeam Boulder for all the latest updates.
Yesterday in the Senate, Dr. Anthony Fauci and Senator Rand Paul got into an argument about how likely is that places will have herd immunity.
They're no longer having the pandemic because they have enough immunity in New York City to actually stop.
I challenge that, Senator, because I want, please, sir, I would like to be able to do this because this happens with Senator Rand all the time. You were not listening to what the director of the CDC said, that in New York, it's about 22%. If you believe 22% is herd immunity, I believe you're alone in that.
The university is trying to build herd immunity to the seasonal flu by using a vaccine. Starting this week, CU is offering free flu shots to any students at 6 locations around campus. Those are Wardenburg, Kids Central, the Rec Center, the Engineering Center, Wildflower, and the Village Center. You can schedule an appointment for the vaccine through the My CU Health portal. The university is not giving free flu shots to the faculty or staff. The CDC recommends getting the flu vaccine before Halloween. Coming up after the break, the Breonna Taylor protest in Denver turned violent last night. We'll tell you about it after the break.
He seemed fine to me.
I thought he would just sleep it off.
I didn't think he was that bad.
I had no idea he was taking prescription drugs.
He only drank as much as me.
I was fine.
We didn't want to get in trouble.
I thought this kind of thing happened all the time.
I thought someone else was taking care of him. If I would have called.
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 If I would have just called.
I'd still be alive.
Welcome back. Since students have come to Boulder, the coronavirus cases in the county have spiked. With almost 80% of positive cases coming from CU students, NewsTeam Courtney Aitken spoke to one resident who's not happy that the students are back.
I think the university has been irresponsible in and of themselves. They're not concerned about the surrounding environments around the university. They shouldn't have brought kids back yet.
Colorado Governor Jared Polis extended a statewide fire ban for another 30 days. This is in response to the current extreme fire hazard condition in the state. Remember that the fire restrictions include open fires, fireworks or explosives, and smoking outdoors. But this doesn't include liquid fuel or gas fuel stoves. Yesterday, Kentucky's Attorney General Daniel Cameron announced none of the officers involved in Breonna Taylor's death could be charged for the killing. One officer was charged for wanton endangerment for shooting his gun into another apartment, not Breonna Taylor's. Yesterday's announcement by the Kentucky Attorney General led to national protest. Protesters in Denver gathered at the state capitol building last night. In caption video, a car hit some of the protesters. One woman said she ended up with some scratches on her wrist. The driver is under police custody. For weeks now, we have been dealing with haze from the wildfires. The cooler weather may be bringing some of them down. We get a full check of your forecast after the break.
Welcome back to NewsTeam Boulder. We have your weather forecast coming up in just a moment, but first a video from Parrish, Louisiana, where residents are not driving but kayaking down a flooded street. This flooding comes from Tropical Storm Beta, which is now what we call a remnant low. So it's dying down, but you can still expect severe flooding and up to 15 inches of rain in some parts of the southeast. More on national conditions in a moment. For now, I'll take you to Boulder, Colorado, where current conditions are sunny and clear, high of 89 degrees today. Southeasterly winds coming through this afternoon, just under 10 miles an hour. And fortunately, these winds won't be bringing in too much excess particle matter. For our air quality today, we are looking at 38 AQI. And again, anything between 0 and 50 is pretty good air. So if we zoom out to the greater state of Colorado as a whole, this is a pretty big improvement from last week, where we were looking at a lot of warmer colors in our state, which indicates a little bit more negative air quality. Some places like Fort Collins, Greeley, some parts of Denver, and even some parts of the mountains are looking at more moderate air quality, but for the most part looking pretty good here. Speaking of improvements, we are actually looking at some good news about some of the wildfires we have been watching. Out here in Grand Junction, the Pine Gulch fire, nearly 95% contained, Grizzly Creek 91% contained, and in the center of the state, the Thorpe fire is 100% contained. That is fantastic news. So as for our nation as a whole, the Northwest is still a little bit suffering from more negative air conditions due to those fires out there. Out in the upper Midwest, we're looking at moderate air conditions, so nothing too serious, but still a little bit more negative, more excess particle matter up there. And then for the Southeast, we're looking at generally good particle matter, good air quality, not a whole lot of excess there. However, they are going to be looking at a lot of heavy flooding in this area. If we take a look at our national forecast here, all of these fun patterns you see actually indicate some pretty serious severe conditions. We're talking about flooding, thunderstorms, heavy rain, and then extending across the center of the nation here, we have this low pressure system that is feeding into this heavy rain up here in the upper Midwest, Wisconsin area. And then finally, as for the Pacific Northwest, we are finally looking at those rain patterns that are so common for this area that we haven't been getting this summer. But hopefully right now that will be coming in and stifling those wildfires that are giving them some pretty negative air conditions. So this high pressure center in Colorado, though, is keeping us pretty warm and dry. As for today, we're looking at some cooler pockets of air in the mountains. The eastern half of the state seeing a lot in the 90s. Look at outside of Pueblo, 98 degrees. On Friday, you'll be starting your weekend off hot as the eastern part of the state heats up even more. Take a look out here. Even more warm air. And then on Saturday, this warm air begins to move out, and into Sunday, we can see our whole state turn green, which actually indicates that we won't be seeing temperatures much above 70 degrees. Even Grand Junction out here, 81 degrees, still pretty warm, but they've been seeing a lot of 90s, so they're finally cooling off, and the mountains are going to start getting even cooler as well. As for tomorrow here in Boulder, almost identical today, so a high of 89 degrees, will cool down to 58 degrees just after sunset. And now I'll show you the 4-day outlook for Boulder. So mostly sunny and warm through your weekend. We have a slight cool down on Sunday. And if you don't have plans for this weekend, I do want to tell you that the fall colors are peaking in the mountains this weekend. Aspen, Vail, and Breck are going to be looking absolutely gorgeous. The weather will be great. Get out there and see those colors. And now I will take you to Nederland, Colorado, where fall is in full swing. And it turns out there are a few reasons for the change of color this season.
There's nothing quite like fall in the mountains. The magical time of year when vibrant green hues of summer give way to magnificent shades of yellow, orange, and red. You may have wondered why these changes occur. There are actually a few factors that come into play. First and foremost is chlorophyll.
It's easy to see why fall is the favorite season of many Colorado natives. What people may not know is the vibrant colors we see this time of year are actually present year-round.
Chlorophyll fuels photosynthesis during the summer, but come fall, when it's no longer needed, it is broken down until the carotenoids underneath are visible. In short, the leaf sheds its green color to reveal the yellows and oranges that have been underneath all along. Red leaves are a little different. Trees like red maple and oak have a secret ingredient called anthocyanins, which are pigments that they produce exclusively in the fall. You may have noticed that in some years, the fall colors are more vibrant than others. This is due to weather. Just as April showers bring May flowers, a cool light rain in late August or September guarantees vivid fall foliage. On the other hand, chilly weather and early snowfall can cause leaves to bypass the color change process altogether, making for much more dull foliage. Different locations will see color at different times due to contrasting climates. Luckily, Boulder is surrounded by places to view the fall scenery and to appreciate the process that goes along with it. Of course, you may stop to admire the leaves without wondering why they change, and that's okay too. For NewsTeam Boulder, I'm Courtney Aitken.
When we come back, CU students remember the late Justice Ruth Bader Ginsburg.
It's getting harder to take care of Mom. I don't know where to turn.
My son has high needs and we need more help. Where do I start?
Every day I'm there for him, but sometimes I need time for me. Caregiving can be tough. Call or visit coloradocaregiving.org to find resources in your community. Get the support you need. Your care may be super, but you're only human. Call or visit coloradocaregiving.org.
After Justice Ruth Bader Ginsburg's death last week, remembrances and tributes are pouring in, especially from her youth fans, people from our generation who were less than a third of Ginsburg's age. NewsTeam Vinay Simlot shows the impact Ginsburg had on students at CU.
Outside the Supreme Court, where Justice Ruth Bader Ginsburg lies in repose, mourners gather, including young people, the generation who embraced the notorious RBG as a hero.
People are obviously drawn to her being like a baddie, like
Yeah.
and not even caring what other people think, especially because of her like frail figures.
Freshman Virginia Edwards pays tribute to the justice who opened the door for so many women.
A woman's work, whether at home or on the job, is as important as a man's.
A woman can have those ideas and have that voice in society without being told like, are you on your period, or like, you're so emotional, and being like a strong woman. It's always good to see in society.
In 2012, Ginsburg spoke to CU law students where she said her best case was deciding the Virginia Military Institute had to accept women.
Most of the members of the VMI faculty were elated because it meant that if they could accept women applicants, they could upgrade their applicant pool and get better students.
For first-year law student Jake Burney, Ginsburg's life is one of inspiration.
One person can make a lot of change, you know. If you play your cards right, you can ultimately do a lot of good for people.
As so many from different generations remember the 5'1" justice who became a legal giant. Vinay Simlot, NewsTeam Boulder.
Justice Ginsburg will lie in repose for the rest of the day today. And tomorrow she will lie in the state at the U.S. Capitol, the first woman ever lied in a state, trailblazing in death, just like she did in life. That's all for this episode of NewsTeam Boulder. I'm Anayeli Villalobos. We left you with the Scholars of Val, spotted in Netherlands.